It is easy, and I'll tell you something else that's easy. It's investing with Ironfish. We're actually delighted to have with us this morning Damon Nagel, Managing Director, Ironfish. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Simon.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Damon. Now, tell us, today we're talking about, I guess, the positives of dealing with an investment group when it comes to investing in property, which a lot of people are interested in. Can you tell us more about what Ironfish does?
Sure. I think you used the word holistic with Club Finance, and we adopt a very similar approach. We really start, I guess, by educating our clients, and through the education process, we're looking really to build a framework by which they have confidence in which to invest. We do a lot of research within the marketplace which we provide to the client to give them that confidence. We're also obviously a national brand, so we have the ability to or for investors to look at different parts of Australia, and we're a strong believer that diversity is one of the key elements when investing. But I guess Ironfish, it's about also building that relationship with the client and actually following it through the journey with them. So that's, I guess, really what we look to achieve.
Which is beautiful and clearly important. It was apparent in Streetwise that people are just clamouring for information and education. So education, research, obviously very important.
Yes.
What else does Ironfish offer their clients, I guess, by way of properties and so forth?
Well, I guess the probably the main difference that we have within our marketplace is that diversity approach. With the education, a lot of people have a very distinct view on how to invest in property. It's one of those, I guess, areas that if you ask pretty much anyone about an opinion on property, everyone has one. And that's often based on the references that they've had or experiences through people that they know. What we look to do is perhaps try and broaden that experience, make them think a little bit outside the square. We're a big believer that trends are a really strong way in which you can predict what's likely to happen in property over the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. And a lot of people are very unaware of what impacts or what trends and how they impact on property. So we look to give a lot of information with around trends. I heard this morning on the radio that single person households are doubling over the next 10 years. Now that's information that we'd heard from the Australian Bureau of Statistics about 4 or 5 years ago. And what that'll basically mean is there'll be a really larger demand for smaller type dwellings. I think within the Australian property market at the moment, it's typically 3-4 bedroom houses, etc. And new properties are typically being built further and further out. But we're now starting to see an anti-donut effect where people are starting to focus back more on centralised locations and smaller dwellings. So I guess we try to provide that information to the client and sort of back that up with the research that we do.
Sensational.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how do you source your properties, I guess, that clients can purchase?
I guess my partner Joseph jokingly says we're the John West of the property industry. It's actually what we reject that makes us good. Unlike most real estate agents where they'll literally list anything that's put in front of them, we actually look at any project and it must meet a certain criteria for us to actually take it on. There's 2 components to the way we acquire projects. We have an acquisition team which is based in Sydney, and they do a lot of research around the markets within Australia, looking at demand, etc. Within South Australia, I probably have a lot of the relationships with the local developers here, and we're looking at areas that we think have a particular X factor about them, so that they will perform above the market at a given point in time. So we're looking to identify at what point they're likely to outperform, and we're also looking to see what are the benefits during that hold strategy. A lot of clients, when they buy property, they're really thinking just about the front end or purchasing costs of buying a property. But obviously, if you're using a hold strategy, you've got to think about the money that you're spending holding the property and then what you're likely to get at the end. So who is going to come along and pay a lot more money than you did and why? So
and you're speaking about the hold strategies there. Is that the strategy of Ironfish, that you hold the property?
Typically, yes. We're not a company that I guess advises or makes recommendations on turning strategies. Whilst there's certainly, you can make money in that area, through renovations and I guess value adding to property. That's certainly a great area to make money, but it's very active and it is a business. I sort of jokingly say to people, if you're thinking of investing and you want to actually knock something down and build, it would be kind of like saying, I think mining's a good game and I'll go buy a drill and head out to Roxby. It is a business when you're looking at the active side. And we certainly we can give people some information and steer them into that direction. But as a strategy, we believe holding is probably slightly safer. But a lot of people that do active investing actually still use hold strategies.
Yep.
And a lot of people who are very focused, I guess, on the Adelaide market, what we hope to do is perhaps give them some confidence of investing in other states. If you look at, say, Melbourne, for an example, that's increased by 27% this year.
Yep.
So investors who have invested in Melbourne will have had a great run. They'll then have an ability to use their profits there to go on to the next one, where if they had just invested in Adelaide, they would be more restricted.
Yep.
So why should, and we had it in Streetwise again, why should a potential consumer use somebody like an Ironfish as opposed to do it themselves?
Look, I guess what we do, an individual could go out and do pretty much everything that we do.
Yeah.
One of the main things is probably time. We've seen research that suggests that an investor will spend anything between 120 to 150 hours buying one investment property.
Yep.
So that's 3-4 weeks full time's work.
Yeah.
So we can take that away, that time component away, so they can actually concentrate either on their work or their family or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
They can have the confidence that we've done the research because we can provide that for them. But also, again, it's probably a little bit about reviewing and that relationship along the line, where someone may not realise that they're perhaps in a position to buy the next property.
To go again.
Or maybe it's even, we have said to some clients, let's just sit, consolidate, and then we'll look at and review in 6 months' time.
Yep.
So it's very much that sort of team approach that we adopt.
I completely agree with that, because I guess when it comes down to it, what we all want in life is time with our family,
Definitely.
time to spend on our leisure activities and stuff like that. And if you're trying to earn money, it's not much point really if you don't have time for
you get
yourself.
the balance
So
right.
it's such
Exactly.
a smart idea.
Yep.
Now, what puts Ironfish, would you say, apart from all the other investment groups?
Oh, you're hitting the questions this morning,
I know.
Tony, aren't you?
Look, I've got my
No,
Sue
look,
and
that's-
Sully hat on.
Look, that's a really good question. I think what probably differentiates us is probably a number of things. One is that I mentioned that holistic approach, where we can educate, identify a strategy for a client. We're also looking to see where their current position is, and we spend a lot of time on working out what their objectives are, because unless you know where your end goal is, really what sort of portfolio should you be building? So we spend time on that. We then report on how a portfolio may be put together and the costs involved. And then from there, we have other things, services like property management, and we also have got into the self-managed super fund arena, where I believe, I could be wrong there, but I believe that we're certainly one of, if not the only, property investment group that has an Australian financial security licence. So we're actually able to discuss how to put property into superannuation.
Yep.
Now, we believe that that'll be one of the biggest, I guess, buying tools for people to use, certainly over the next 10 years.
Great. Yeah.
That area we believe, has huge potential. I guess a lot of people, though it is fraught with, it's quite a complicated area, and it can be very expensive. So we devised a strategy that simplified it and kept the cost down tremendously. But it also gives, I guess, for want of a better term, the average investor or even a newer investor, the ability to utilise super funds to go and purchase property in that.
Makes sense, and it just highlights how much there is involved in property investing, but groups like yours, Ironfish, certainly do a great job in pulling that all together. How do people contact you?
Very simply, either via our website, or they can phone the office on 8110 9888.
Easy.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for coming,
Pleasure.
Thanks for
coming
being
on
with
the
us,
show
mate.
today. It's been wonderful having you on. It's time for a very quick commercial break, and after that we'll be back with more on Your Net Profit.